Asteroids are small rocky solar system bodies that populate interplanetary space out of the orbit of Jupiter. There are millions of them and they're often grouped by their composition. The planetary science community refers to them as minor planets, a general term applied to solar system bodies smaller than moons. Asteroids are mainly made of materials left over from the formation of the inner solar system. Most of them orbit the Sun between Mars and Jupiter, although there are groups of them that orbit closer. The vast majority of asteroids in the solar system are found in a region of the solar system out beyond Mars. They form the asteroid belt. Others orbit in near-Earth space, and a few migrate or are thrown out to the outer solar system by gravitational interactions. Asteroids aren't the only things that hit Earth. Each day more than 100 tons of materials from asteroids and comets falls towards Earth. Most of it is destroyed by friction as it passes through our atmosphere. If something does hit the ground, it's known as a meteorite. Two wayward space rocks, which separately crashed to Earth in 1998 after circulating in our solar system's asteroid belt for billions of years, share something else in common: the ingredients for life. They're the first meteorites found to contain both liquid water and a mix of complex organic compounds, such as hydrocarbons and amino acids. A detailed study of the chemical makeup within tiny blue and purple salt crystals sampled from these meteorites, which included X-ray experiments at the Department of Energy Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, also found evidence for the pair's intermingling and likely parents. These include Ceres, a dwarf planet that's the largest object in the asteroid belt, and the asteroid Hebe, a major source of meteorites that fall on Earth. The study, published on the 10th of January in the journal Science Advances, provides the first comprehensive chemical exploration of organic matter and liquid water in salt crystals found in Earth-impacting meteorites. The study treads new ground in the narrative of our solar system's early history and asteroid geology while surfacing exciting possibilities for the existence of life elsewhere in Earth's neighbourhood. David Kilconey, a scientist at Berkeley's lab, said the following: "It's like a fly in amber. While the rich deposits of organic remnants recovered from the meteorites don't provide any proof of life outside of Earth, the meteorite's encapsulation of rich chemistry is similar to the preservation of prehistoric insects in solidified sap droplets." Human evolution is the lengthy process of change by which people originated from ape-like ancestors. Homo sapiens is part of a group called hominids, which were the earliest human-like creatures. Based on archaeological and anthropological evidence, we think that hominids diverged from other primates somewhere between 2.5 and 4 million years ago. This would have happened somewhere in eastern and southern Africa. Though there was a degree of diversity among the hominid family, they all shared the trait of bipedalism, or the ability to walk upright on two legs. A recent discovery in North America will shed light on early humans. Footprints from Ice Age humans some 13,000 years ago have been found beneath the sands of a Canadian island in the Pacific, the earliest prints ever discovered in North America. The 29 footprints of 3 different shapes and sizes were embedded in a layer of clay on the Calvert Island in British Columbia. The bare footprints indicate a variety of activity, so the humans weren't simply passing through. This is according to a study published in the journal PLOS1. The first North Americans are widely believed to have crossed from Siberia to Alaska via a Bering land bridge. The footprints suggest the early travellers then may have travelled south along the Pacific coast, rather than farther inland. The findings add to the growing body of evidence that early peoples in Americas inhabited the coastal margins, and circumnavigated the western edge of the ice sheet to move between the land bridge and mid-latitude North America at the end of the last ice age. The footprints provide evidence of the seafaring people who inhabited this area during the tail end of the last major ice age. At the end of the ice age from 11,000 to 14,000 years ago, the sea level was as much as 10 feet below what it is now. The footprints were likely just above the high tide line at the time. The footprints were impressed into a soil just above the paleo shoreline, possibly by a group of people disembarking from a watercraft and moving towards a central activity area. As this island would have only been accessible by watercraft 13,000 years ago, it implies the people who left the footprints were seafarers who used boats to get around. The few archaeological sites discovered previously as far north were slightly earlier, from 12,700 to 11,800 years ago. The earliest boat is a dugout canoe in the Netherlands dated around 10,000 years ago. The researchers have suggested the footprints were from a child and 2 adults. King Tutankhamun ruled Egypt as a pharaoh for 10 years until his death at age 19, around 1324 BC. He was barely known to the modern world until 1922, when British archaeologist Howard Carter chiselled through a doorway and entered the boy pharaoh's tomb, which had remained sealed for more than 3,200 years. The tomb's vast hoard of artifacts and treasure, intended to accompany the king into the afterlife, revealed an incredible amount about the royal life in ancient Egypt, and quickly made King Tut the world's most famous pharaoh. The most fascinating item found in the tomb was the stone sarcophagus containing 3 coffins, one inside the other with a final coffin made of gold. When the lid of the 3rd coffin was raised, King Tut's royal mummy was revealed, preserved for more than 3,000 years. As archaeologists examined the mummy, they found other artifacts, including bracelets, rings and collars. Research suggests King Tut died from a gangrene infection resulting from a broken leg. Early investigations pointed to bone fragments in Tutankhamun's skull to propose the theory that he died from a blow to the head. However, a full scan of his body in 2006 found the damage to King Tut's skull occurred after his death. This was due to bad handling of his mummy. Another 2010 study of Tutankhamun's DNA found he had malaria and was disabled, needing a cane to walk, which could have aided in his fall, and also making his leg infection worse. However, a new study shows that Tutankhamun was a battle-hardened warrior, and not merely a sick boy king. Specialised photography uncovered signs of battle scars on the pharaoh's 3,000-year-old leather war armour. A University of Northampton researcher worked with a TV crew during the filming of a documentary for Channel 5 in the UK, which recreated Tutankhamun's armour. It was buried within the famous pharaoh's tomb, and the findings contradict past theories of King Tut's feeble image as a dreamer and philosopher. The researchers used a technique known as reflectance transformation imaging. This allowed them to examine the battle armour's secrets. Researcher Lucy Skinner said the following: "It was possible to see abrasions along the edges of the leather scales, meaning that the armour had seen considerable use. That suggests that Tutankhamun had worn it and perhaps he'd even seen battle. If this is true, it would be an amazing revelation, countering the idea that Tut was a weak and sick boy king." Skinner's research involved studying ancient Egyptian leather objects to understand how they were made, used and what they would have looked like. The PhD candidate was contacted by program makers, because she was one of only a handful of people to have contact with the 3,000-year-old objects outside of Egypt. We are closer to bringing back other extinct animals than we are dinosaurs, namely the woolly mammoth. Scientists believe we have all the DNA we need of that species, the results of a well-preserved specimen discovered in 2013. Now efforts are underway to bring the species back. They'll do this by inserting the DNA into an elephant egg, and using a surrogate elephant as the mother. Whether this turns out to be more successful than attempts to revive previous animals remains to be seen. Similar efforts have been proposed for the extinct passenger pigeon as well. Mosquitoes weren't the only creatures to feed off the blood of dinosaurs, and then to get trapped in amber. Researchers working with ancient amber, thought to be nearly 100 million years old, have discovered something that sounds like the beginning of the new chapter in the Jurassic Park franchise: a host of ticks which appear to have feasted on dinosaur blood. It's the first direct evidence we have of the parasites feeding on dinosaurs. It's also the oldest evidence of ticks acting as parasites, feeding on other creatures. Enrique Paleva, lead author of the study, said the following: "Ticks are infamous blood-sucking parasitic organisms, having a tremendous impact on the health of humans, livestock, pets and even wildlife. But until now, clear evidence on their role in deep time has been lacking." Inside other chunks of Burmese amber, the researchers found the remains of new tick species they believe fed off the dinosaurs, as two appeared they'd been feeding from a nest of a feathered dinosaur. The new tick species is named Dracula terrible tick. One particularly bloated specimen was so swollen with blood that it was 8 times the size of its non-engorged companions. Unfortunately or fortunately depending on your perspective, the Jurassic Park scenario where DNA is extracted from an ancient bloodsucker trapped in amber is no more possible with these ticks than it would be with mosquitoes. DNA molecules themselves degrade far too quickly for remains to still contain a genetic code. The blood inside the tick that died shortly after feasting on what was presumably a Cretaceous dinosaur, something like a velociraptor, had been damaged enough by other materials that it was impossible to identify whatever made up its last meal. But we now know that the extinct species of the same sorts of parasites that causes us all kinds of problems today were up to the same thing back then. And whatever caused the final extinction of the dinosaurs, we know that ticks managed to thrive through the event. So my question to you is, if we could, would you bring back the dinosaurs? Let me know in the comments. In the Nephar Desert of Saudi Arabia, researchers have found the oldest remains from early humans outside of Africa and the nearby Mediterranean Levant region. What they found was a single bone from a Homo sapiens finger, and it's believed to be around 87 to 91,000 years old. The study was published in the journal Nature Ecology and Evolution. The bone was discovered in an area rich with stone tools as well as the fossilized bones and remains of hippos and freshwater snails. These clues indicate that early human migration were likely more frequent than previously thought. Lead study author Hugh Grokert from the University of Oxford said the following: "This discovery for the first time shows that early members of our species colonised an expansive region of Southwest Asia, and were not just restricted to the Levant. The ability of these early people to widely colonise this region cast doubt on the long-held views that early dispersals out of Africa were localised, and unsuccessful. The first Homo sapiens evolved in Africa as far back as 310,000 years ago, but there is an ongoing debate as to when they left their birth continent. Early humans are known to have reached the Levant, a region of the Mediterranean adjacent to Africa around 180,000 years ago, but trying to figure out when early humans travelled further has been hard to pin down. Most present-day non-Africans can trace their ancestry to a migration out of Africa that occurred approximately 60,000 years ago, but a number of recent discoveries indicate that Homo sapiens started to venture out as far back as 120,000 years ago. Some of these discoveries relate to genetic analysis that shows humans interbred with groups like the Denisovans and Neanderthals. Some of those genetic traces date back to a time before the major out-of-Africa migration. In other cases, tools, artwork and remains that haven't yet been dated support the idea that Homo sapiens ventured out earlier, but no bones have been found that predated the migration outside of Africa until now. The researchers behind the study discovered the crucial finger bone at a site called Al-Wasta. This was discovered in the Nephar Desert. Although it's a desert region today, going back 90,000 years ago the site was on the bank of a freshwater lake. At that time the region would have been mostly grassland. The site was first discovered to be significant in 2014. Using a method known as uranium series dating, researchers figured out the finger bone dates back approximately 90,000 years. This finding supports the idea that early humans left Africa more frequently than previously understood. Humans may have regularly migrated from Africa to surrounding regions whenever weather supported those movements. Humans are the most advanced species because of our evolution. We humans have dominated other species so much we no longer belong on the food chain. It's got to the point where we now control the food chain, meaning that our actions can have huge effects on other species. Humans have achieved a lot in the past 100 years. For example, in 1917 the world's literacy rate was only 23%. Now it's believed to be around 87%. However, there are some that believe intelligent races lived before us. Recently, there has been a discovery at an early Stone Age site in Germany. This is of well-preserved weaponry dating back over 300,000 years, and is set to change the way we perceive how early hominids hunted and how advanced they were. The 8 spears that were discovered represent one of the best finds of the period to date. Due to the preservation, they also allow the archaeologists to build a complete picture of the kind of lifestyle and environment that the early humans who used the spears lived in. To the untrained eye they may only appear to be sharpened sticks, but they reveal what kind of prey the spears were used for, how complex the methods of their creation were, and can also help to predict the size and the build of the humans who used them, and whether they were solitary or group hunters. The type of wood used and the condition of the wood can also help reveal what the ecological and climate of the time were like, so just by studying these objects they can tell a lot about that culture. The species that experts think made the weapons was Homo heidelbergensis, although no human remains have been found at the site. This genus is thought to have been the first humanoid species to bury their dead, and as such well-preserved skeletal remains are difficult to find outside of mass grave sites. It's been estimated they lived between 600,000 and 200,000 years ago, and are thought to be one of our direct ancestors, as well as the species that Neanderthals evolved from. They were similar in stature to modern humans, standing around 5'9" in males, and 5'2" in females, and having a brain only 10% smaller than modern day humans. Facially they differed in that they retained the sloping brow. What the spears have shown the archaeologists is that they were more advanced than first thought. The species would have lived in small groups and worked together to better enable survival. The discovery of stone spear tips date from 500,000 years ago, suggesting they were the first to develop the spearhead. NASA recently shared with us an image of a snowy icy expanse dotted with odd roundish features, and challenged the public to figure out what it is. While some have come forward suggesting it's part of NASA's Operation Icebridge airborne mission, which shows the eastern Arctic Ocean's Beaufort Sea, the mysterious looking holes still remain a mystery. Don Purvich, a sea ice geophysicist from Dartmouth College, said the following: "The ice that we can see here is likely thin, soft and mushy, and somewhat pliable." He goes on to say the odd shapes could be the result of colliding ice flows. He's not sure what kind of dynamics could lead to the semicircle shaped features surrounding the hole. Nathan Kurtz, a member of NASA's Icebridge project, commented, "I've never seen anything like that before." One theory is that the holes may have been created by seals. This would create an open area in the ice through which they could surface to breathe. Walt Meir, a National Snow and Ice Data Scientist, had this to say: "The encircling features may be due to waves of water washing out the snow and ice when seals surface, or it could be a sort of drainage feature that results from when the hole is made in the ice." For now, the mysterious circles remain a mystery. This isn't the only time that strange things have been found in isolated places. Lying in the Antarctic Circle that rings the southern part of the globe, Antarctica is the 5th largest continent. Its size varies through the seasons, as expanding sea ice along the coast nearly doubles in size in the winter. Most of Antarctica is covered with ice. Less than 0.5% of the vast wilderness is ice-free. Scientists believe a massive object that could change our understanding of history is hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. The huge and mysterious anomaly is thought to be lurking beneath the frozen wasteland of an area called Wilkes Land. The area is 151 miles across, and has a minimum depth of around 2,700 feet. Some researchers believe it's the remains of a truly massive asteroid more than twice the size of the space rock that wiped out the dinosaurs. If this explanation is true, it could mean this monster asteroid caused a permanent Jurassic extinction event, which killed 96% of Earthsea creatures, and up to 70% of the vertebrate organisms living on land. However, the wilder minds of the internet have come up with their own theories, with some conspiracy theorists claiming it could be a massive UFO base, or a portal to a mysterious underworld called the Hollow Earth. Viruses are microscopic parasites that lack the capability to thrive and reproduce outside a host body. Viruses can affect any type of living organism. Most viruses are so tiny they are only observable with at least a conventional optical microscope. Viruses infect all types of organisms, including animals and plants as well as bacteria. Approximately 5,000 different viruses have been described in detail at the current time, although it's known there are millions of distinct types. Viruses are found in virtually every ecosystem on Earth, and these minute life forms are thought to be the most abundant type of biological entity. Science has come a long way over the years. We have a general idea of why our bodies get sick, We may have eaten something dodgy or caught a virus, but the burning question is, why do we get ill? And why do our bodies shut down? Scientists and researchers from Australia may have the answers. Senior authors, along with other colleagues from various universities, have found what they believe to be a billion-year biological process in plants, fungi and mammals. This process could help us explain why viruses cause disease in humans. The researchers suggest the viruses cause a certain protein in our bodies to compromise our body's ability to fight, and also clear the infection. To counter the problem, the scientists have customized a drug that neutralizes NOx2 oxidase to help the body fight more effectively. Dr. Stavros, who is the senior author, said the following: "Current treatment strategies are limited as they specifically target circulating viruses, and have either unknown or very little effect against new viruses that enter the human population. We've identified a protein of the immune system that contributes to the disease caused by the flu viruses. We've also developed a novel drug delivery system to target this protein, which drastically lowered the burden of the viral disease. Recent trials have been promising. Trials show that it's successful at suppressing certain infections, and researchers have faith that it could help treat the world's most dangerous viruses. Flu epidemics can kill thousands or even millions of people. The 1918 flu epidemic is estimated to have affected half the world's population, and killed 40 to 50 million people worldwide. The World Health Organization estimates that flu kills between 250,000 and 500,000 people around the world every year. Between 7 to 22% of the US population will get flu this year. There is currently no medical treatment that will cure the flu, but hopefully further tests will give us one in the near future. Over the years, many incredible things have been discovered, and usually it happens when people least expect it. Jersey has been an island for 8,000 years, and is surrounded by about 15 miles of sandy beaches. It's the largest of the Channel Islands, measuring 9 miles by 5 miles, and is divided into 12 parishes, most of them named after saints. Jersey has a rich and varied history, with several invasion attempts over many centuries. The island was part of the Duchy of Normandy in the 10th century, and became part of the Anglo-Norman realm in 1066. It's here that the remains of something rare was discovered. Andy Davis, landlord of the Seymour pub, and his wife Vicky said they were both very surprised when the builders made an incredible discovery. The builders, who have been carrying out renovations to the pub following damage caused by recent flooding, told them they discovered an unusual feature underneath the pub's floorboards. Mr. Davis said the following: "We were so surprised to see the floorboards had actually been nailed down onto what looks like parts of the hull of an old ship. Jersey Heritage came down to have a look, and said they estimated the ship parts were put down when the pub was built approximately 160 years ago. The ship's parts, which are currently placed among a thick layer of sand on top of the pub's foundations, could soon be exhibited at the Jersey Museum." Mr. Davis went on to say, "We plan to keep a few of the timbers and put them above the new fireplace to give it some character, and Jersey Heritage have offered to display some of the ship's parts in the Jersey Museum." Roger Hills, head of historic buildings at Jersey Heritage, who visited the pub this week to investigate the rare find, said he'd not seen anything like it in Jersey before. There is evidence of ship parts being used in buildings around the island, but this is the first time he'd seen so many used under an entire floor. Adding, there are a lot of shipyards along the coast near here at the time the pub was being built, and we know that some local shipbuilders were involved in building houses across the island. To be sure of how old it is, they will need to study a piece of timber, but it's likely they're the same age as the building. Mr. and Mrs. Davis said the section of the pub where the ship parts were found is due to reopen in the next few weeks. It seems like many food products nowadays have been labelled super. Food marketers do this because they know that if they call their product a superfood, it's sure to sell. However, there's no official definition of a superfood, and the EU has banned health claims on packaging unless supported by scientific evidence. But that hasn't stopped many food brands from funding academics to research the health benefits of their product. Foods that have been elevated to superfood status in recent years include those rich in antioxidants. However, a recent claim by scientists have had people scratching their heads. a team of scientists from around the world have discovered protein crystals in the middle gut of cockroaches, and they have said it might be the next superfood as it offers 4 times the nutrition of milk from cows. Not all cockroaches produce milk. There is only one type of cockroach that gives birth to live young. They are known to pump out milk that contains protein crystals that feed the babies it gives birth to. Scientists have been fascinated with insects being able to produce milk. This has led many scientists carrying out tests. What's incredible is that one of those protein crystals has 3 times the energy that is found in the same amount of buffalo milk, which happens to have more calories than cow's milk. Milking a cockroach is an impossible task, but the team of scientists, which includes researchers in India from the Institute of Stem Cell Biology and Regenerative Medicine, managed to sequence genes that are behind the production of milk protein crystals. This means they will be able to replicate them in a laboratory. A member of the team said the crystals are just like a complete food, as they contain sugar, fat and protein. They went on to say they contain all the amino acids that are essential. It's said that not only is the milk dense in nutrients and calories, it's also time-released. The protein in milk is digested, and the crystal then releases protein at a rate that is equivalent to continued digestion. The scientists even stated that anyone who wanted food that was high in calories should try this. The dense protein source is not for those who are trying to lose weight, and it will not be required in diets where people eat too many calories. However, for people who struggle to eat the correct amount of calories each day, cockroach milk would be the ideal solution. So what do you guys make of this? If cockroach milk became a product, would you buy it? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.